Yo, it's ODB from OLP. This is issue 144 of Mini Truckin Magazine, December 2003. There's a lot to talk about. Don't forget, we are your Mini Truckin headquarters. Make sure you check us out, ourlifestylepodcast.com, and search any OLP or any podcast app. Search OLP and look us up. All right. A lot to talk about with this issue. You have Chris Call's 97 Toyota Tacoma Xtracab with these awesome flames, repping, of course, Negative Camber. Now, I saw this truck. We'll look at it a little bit later, November 2003. I'll show you guys an image when we get to the feature. I have pics of the truck, and again, I'll show you those. When we had Steve Butts on, shout out to Steve, we talked about this truck. He was involved with it. Wes Allison's 46th credited Mini Truckin Magazine cover. At the end, I'll tell you how many cover trucks up to this point had intro wheels. That might surprise you. This is lucky number 13, so to speak, and I just say that. But really, it's the 13th NC or Negative Camber cover truck. The model is Tamara Witmer. And I kind of know this truck is built to drag based upon the plate, but you'll see that it's actually titled for the feature itself, Get Shorty. Very cool issue, definitely iconic truck. And the other iconic, or, you know, I would say milestone that this issue dives into is Mike Alexander coming on board with Mini Truckin Magazine. You may recall that I had talked about with Mike Alexander, with Mike Finnegan leaving, there wasn't really anything in paper yet kind of stating that, but Lance does talk about it. We could see, again, the intro wheels, awesome Tacoma, great colors, I love it. You got the NC logo here on the windshield, and you also have a sliding ragtop. You could see across the windshield some of the names of the companies, I believe, that had helped. So something a little bit different there. They did not edit that out. And then again, Tamara Witmer, super hot. Super hot. Can we bring back models on the cover of magazines? You know what I'm saying? Okay, so we have the table of contents. We get another photo here. Chris Call, seeing his name again, 97 Toyota Tacoma. Speaking of Toyota, that Yoda though, some dimes, some Rangers, and a lot going on in this issue. We see Scrapin The Coast here. Scrapin The Coast was kind of in the infancy at that time. Now, this is funny because this is December 2003, and we just went to Scrapin 2023, or 2023, and yeah, I think it was like the 21st annual, so pretty cool stuff. Who's the new guy? So here Lance talks about Mike Alexander coming on board. And my phone's ringing, so all right, good times. We could see here Mike Alexander listed as the associate editor. We see the Nissan Frontier there, Desert Dragger, in the Max Spring ad. You have the news on the left, some different kind of ads. Here is Drag Daily, Stalker to Shocker, Stalker to Sparker, my bad. This is Curtis Marsh 94S10. Pretty clean truck. If you like what we're doing here, please leave a comment, even if it's just a thumbs up emoji or something. The subscribers do continue to grow, and the way the algorithms work, it definitely helps to have kind of that interaction. Or if there's information that you see, or you know one of these trucks or something, a lot of people have been chiming in, and I can't thank you guys enough for that. Here's Scrapin The Coast 2003. And this is, okay, so yeah, so this kind of always confuses me on my brain. This was the first event. Rest in peace to Greg Miller. This show has grown by leaps and bounds, and it was just amazing to be there again this year. Greg, part of the team that ran this show, of course, passed away. And when we started the podcast, he jumped on board and said, hey, I want to be a part of what you guys are doing. I want to support you in any way. And this is going back to the first event. Definitely grown a lot. And you can see they got a lot of coverage for that first year. Some nice trucks. Mike was saying recently, there's the RA Florida Ranger at the time. Mike was saying that they're going to make a big announcement soon, so that'll be pretty cool. This was Jason Livingston's 94 Toyota Xtracab. So Xtracab on the cover, but an old school Xtracab here from Boomer, North Carolina. I got a chance to see this truck at Indy Truck Bash 01 or 02. Those kind of years rolled together in my head. This thing was super sick. I think his name came up on the podcast recently. Someone was describing the truck, and I immediately knew which truck it was. Psychosis, the pursuit of squandering. And if I remember correctly, not only is this truck super clean, it, I believe it had the NC logos on the topper, or am I thinking of a different truck? But the truck with these graphics is something similar. Pretty cool stuff. Love that truck. Super clean. We're going to keep on keeping on here, going through these issues. Being that we're on issue 144, we're nearing down on 169. Once we get to that number, we'll have T-minus 100 issues, which is insane. You got Texas Heat Wave 2003, so that would have been July of 03. And, of course, we just passed, I think Heat Wave is coming up this weekend, actually. But you can see show's been a long time. It's been around a long time. Always loved that Mazda. That Frenched tag in the front bumper, though. Frontier, and, of course, Matt's truck from Custom Works at the time. This thing is still around in the scene. Another guy owns it, and it landed on the cover of Custom Trucks or Common Treads mag. There was ballparks, so Andrew's Tacoma, I always see him at LST. Thing was super clean. It was featured in Street Trucks. Awesome truck. Remember hanging out with him and a lot of the guys down in Greenville going crazy. This thing was always awesome. I posted a photo the other day of it. Charles Armstrong chimed in and said, yeah, I love the paint on it. Super clean. That thing was always nice. Saw that a few times around. You got the Cool Cars ad on the right with the chick. Here, we went through that a little too fast, didn't we? Those parts, though. Again, definitely appreciate if you guys stick with us through these. It helps us out, the watch minutes. The long bed, I got a chance to see that Mazda Cab Plus at ITB back in the day. That thing was super sick. Believe it is still around. Get Shorty, Slapper's Vengeance. Mike Alexander and Lance wrote it. Again, Wes did shoot this one. Again, art department stepping up over the course of time as technology got a little bit better, and you could just see awesome the truck in the model. Looks fantastic. There is the owner's box, if you will. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, this was the Vier booth. Now, the date is kind of a weird format, but it's 11/4/2003. That was the first year I went to SEMA and hung out with Kool-Aid. Those are the two photos I took of it. This was a digital camera that I used that was my dad's, but for those that don't know, the memory cards, I mean, you could barely take many photos. They didn't even have like gig cards back then. They were like megabytes. It was insane. But super clean truck. Steve Butts, I know Ben Wood was involved as well, and others. They're out there in California, and if I just go to the lowdown, you'll see some of those names if you screenshot or pause it. Definitely an awesome truck. It was pretty cool to see, and definitely, you know, I was pretty, you know, my younger years, 20 years ago, it was pretty cool. I got a chance to go out to SEMA thanks to Kool-Aid, my severed brother. At the time, he was in Down the Earth, I think. But got a chance to hang out, you know, meet Carrie and hang out with the IF guys. Dunaway, which was Severed Washington at the time. They had just did the 24s that were set up for 26s on the full size. that was the year I flew out and hung out with Kool-Aid and cruised around in his Ford Ranger. And of course, that was the year that I got to see this cover truck. I think it's the only time I saw it, 20 years ago this November. NC, super clean. Is it still around? I don't know. You guys can chime in if you have any intel on that. Love the paint colors. Awesome. Again, they're mixing it up here, all the different OEMs. James Seat, 95 Ford Ranger. This was Severed, Tennessee. Of course, I know James. I think he goes by Jim. Jim Seat. That's what I always think of. Super clean. And kind of has that vibe of the mid 2000s kind of vibe going on. Awesome truck. It is cool to see, though, going through all of these issues so far, up to this point, 143 prior issues, how the trends do change and how things kind of manifested over the course of time, including you seeing more color. Here's Iceberg. Here's Bad Bronc. This thing's been around, I think, is the same one that's been around a whole bunch. Here is Michael Hall, 89 Chevy S10. The big payoff. Super clean. Look how nice this truck is. That engine bay, though. Man, I could look at trucks like this forever. Just something that's well executed. You look at the inside of the bed. Nothing overly done. You could cruise this to your little Main Street cruise, take it to a show. Immaculate Collection, 89 S10. So awesome. We're going to keep on keeping on through all these issues. You can see that we are not all color yet. Of course, you can screenshot if you need. You can bump this up to 4K. You can look in the description. Everything that I cover, I go back and type it all up. And it goes into the description. Trying to make things easy, and it helps when people Google stuff. It helps to locate or land on. This was Jeff Callahan's Ombre, and actually those same set of wheels I think are the ones I had on my Burb, my 95 Burb. Fun bags. You guys might recall that was the tag on the Ranger from RA Florida. Fun bags. Super clean. The newer style dash, of course, being a little bit newer truck, but looking good with get the Heat Wave Award. Pretty crazy. See, those guys were doing it back in the day, probably from BAD maybe. The awards in our truck scene are pretty awesome, including Lone Star Throwdown, what they do with Phil Built. There's Joe Millionaire, which is now owned by Lucky. A lot going on there. And if I go back, this is only the second cover truck with intro wheels, believe it or not. So second cover truck with intro wheels. The first one was Bruce Rivera's Isuzu, which was issue 130. I appreciate all the support. There you go, SEMA 2003. November 4th, 2003. Shout out to Steve Butts, NC, everybody out there doing the damn thing. Thanks for all the support. And again, stay on the rise, y'all. We got ya. Peace.